In 1992, from the advice of a friend of my mother's, said, hey, you guys should start a CSA. This is a great way to sell more product directly to the consumer. So my mom put together this company that she called Farm Fresh to You, and she started making these mixed boxes and delivering them to San Francisco. They were delivered in the backseat of my grandparents' Buick. My grandparents lived across the road, and they were retired and didn't have anything to do. So they started delivering these boxes. There were about 8 of them to start with. And Sabella Kraus wrote an article about this that got published in the food section of the San Francisco Chronicle. And the phone number on our CSA was the home phone number, 796-4111. The phones blew up. My younger brother, Freeman, stayed home from school for the following 2 days, just answering the phones and writing down these people's numbers. After that, exposure, the CSA grew from, I think, about 8 deliveries to closer to 30, or maybe it was even 100, and that was huge. So this was my parents' life, in particular my mother's. On July 2nd of 2000, my mother, Kathleen Barsotti, ended a long battle with breast cancer. When she passed away, our farm was about 100 acres, and our CSA was delivering 500 boxes per week. She ran the operations until her last week, at which point my brothers and I took over. We inherited a very great idea. We inherited an empty bank account, and we inherited, in the beginning of the summer, you guys know July 2nd, right? That's when things get crazy. What we did inherit was grown crops in the field. And at this time, I was still in college. My younger brother was still in high school. My 2 older brothers were in the middle of different careers. One was in the military, the other one was a commodities trader in San Francisco. But we knew in our bones that this was what we wanted to do. So we kept the farm going while doing our other projects, finishing school, other jobs, whatnot. Today, 3 of the 4 of us have made this our full-time career. Our farm has 350 acres in production. Our CSA delivers 5,000 boxes per week directly to the homes of consumers from Sacramento down to San Jose. We have about 10,000 active customers, we call them. These are people who are scheduled to receive some delivery in the future. So I'd like to talk about the 3 big challenges that I see in the industry. Now, keep in mind, this is coming from the point of view of someone, I'm young, I'm 28 years old, but I've been doing this since I was 4. In addition to growing up farming and doing retail farmers markets, we did start a retail store in San Francisco. We've maneuvered many wholesale relationships with people who have sold our products or represented our products exclusively on the wholesale market. We've taken that relationship into our own hands. We now represent our product on the wholesale market. We've been in every aspect of the food industry in one way or another. So when I look at the challenges for the future, I'm really talking about the whole food system. The first thing is the consumer's connection to the land has been lost. I'm kind of preaching to the choir. At the farmer's market, the consumer's connection has not been lost. That is the best, in my opinion, the best food system, when the consumer is working directly with the farmer and buying it. But when you look at a large scale, like the agriculture that is feeding the majority of Americans, there's no way to track a finished product back to the field, let alone the person growing it. The industry has evolved into these highly specialized departments of people who grow product, $1 billion industry, people who harvest product, another specific $1 billion industry, people who package and process the products, another very specialized industry, wholesalers who bounce the product around, another very specialized industry, and retailers, the people who actually take the product out of this whole maze and put it in front of the consumer and ask the consumer to purchase it. And this system has evolved out of, I think, necessity from post-World War II, but it stopped evolving, and it's turned into something that does not have the potential to connect an individual product to the land on which it was grown, nor can it connect the product to the process of the farmer who grew it. That's a huge challenge for our generation. Another challenge is the organic standard has evolved. Many of the ideas, the passions that started with this movement, with my parents' generation, included things like I already mentioned: social justice, biodiversity, true sustainability. And the organic product has evolved into an amendment-based standard. Today, when my product gets put on the market, it's competing with other products under the same name, under the same classification, but these products, the process that's gone into growing them are completely different. This is a big challenge. People talk about beyond organic. The other thing is there's some organic farms, present company excluded, who their product is probably less sustainable than some other small farms who are not considered organic. This is another big issue. I mean, something's going to have to change, certainly in the future, for this to be fixed. The biggest thing that I've noticed is something that I'm very proud of on my farm: the biodiversity, the fact that there are wild turkeys living healthily in the riparian areas of the creek, the fact that there's some deer, jackrabbits for the dog to chase, squirrels. This is biodiversity. This is what Mother Nature intended. This is how everything came to grow for the millions of years previous. But today, these turkey tracks in my field are called a food safety issue. That's not a food safety issue. That's good, right? And the way that the industry has approached this issue is they want more inspectors, and they want things to be more sanitary. All they're doing is prolonging the inevitable. The issue is that the food system's gotten too big. The connection between the growers like myself and many of the people in this room and the consumers have been lost. This is why things like the E. coli in spinach can get into 30 different states based on one bad batch. It's also the reason that you can't even, how long did it take them to eventually find out where the E. coli was coming from? This is a huge issue. Imagine how much damage an individual could wreak on the food system if they wanted to. So that's the second big challenge. The third big challenge is the people who are going to solve these problems are people who want to devote their lives to it, who want to make careers out of growing and distributing food. And for many, farming is not a viable career. I would not have started a farm on my own accord. If I didn't inherit the farm in the situation that I inherited, I undoubtedly would be in a different career. Even in my current circumstances, I started a career as an engineer. Why? The vacation was better, the pay was better, the stability was better. When we look at how we're going to fix the food system, we need to make sure there are people who want to manage on the ground level.